Welcome, everybody, to the 25th episode of Banter from the Bench podcast. Per usual, me and Sean always have a lot to talk about, but in this episode, we've got a lot to talk about. We are going to discuss the Super Bowl matchup, if we like the matchup, if we hate the matchup. There's still a lot happening as far as the head coach front goes in the NFL. Some really interesting turn of events from last week's episode with Liam Coen. Raiders made their head coaching hire, and there's a couple other moves here that we'll discuss. And then a lot of stuff happening on the Chicago front, too. So, as usual, plenty to dive into. Sean, let's get ready to roll, my friend.
Sounds great.
Ready to jump in here for another episode, and I think the way to kick things off is with the biggest sporting event in the world coming up. We got the Super Bowl matchup. We got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch. And we'll get to that, our thoughts on that matchup and stuff. But I think before we get there, maybe we can touch a little bit on the conference championship games. Mixed bag there. Commanders-Eagles game was close at moments, but then turned into a absolute blowout. I think Saquon Barkley is showing that he might be able to beat teams on his own. And yeah, the Eagles were just rolling. Any thoughts on that game, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, it was close at kickoff, and that's about it, man. It's the year of Saquon. He had 120 rushing yards. I don't know what his reception yards looked like, but he had 3 touchdowns as well. So he just continues to dominate, man. I don't know how the hell the Chiefs are going to game plan for Saquon, but Commanders, I mean, they put together a really nice season. If you told the Commanders fans at the beginning of the year that they were going to make the conference championship, I think they would have probably shit their pants of excitement. So hard for them to be truly upset with the outcome of this game, but Eagles have just looked like the more dominant team, in a lot of cases this postseason. So just another big win for Philly.
Their defense really came on strong in that game too. Forcing turnovers when, you thought, hey, maybe if Washington scores here, they have a chance. And it just seemed like they always rose to the occasion whenever they needed to. And honestly, their defense has just been playing pretty damn good throughout this postseason, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, they recovered 3 fumbles.
They've let up about 22 points a game in both games. With the way the NFL is these days and teams able to score points, all things considered, you probably take that. But yeah, forcing turnovers and having a elite running back like Barkley, I mean, that's a huge recipe for success, and the Eagles rode that. It's funny, Jalen Hurts was entering the postseason hurt, and he hasn't had to do much. No. It just feels like it's almost been a couple of bye weeks for him. He made some good throws against Washington, but I just feel like they haven't really needed him to do much, which has been good for him, I'm sure.
Yeah, he hasn't really had to take over. Now, Super Bowl will definitely be a different story, but
yeah,
I think the Eagles go as far as Saquon will take them, and I think that's just kind of how this season's going to end, whether that's good or bad for them. But yeah, Jalen Hurts is just kind of, for the most part, just kicked back and been coasting and watching Saquon run all over the place. So it's been nice for him.
I would too. If I had a chance to hand him the ball and watch him run like that, I would do that. It's fun. Get a front row ticket. Nothing wrong with that. So let's go to the next game here, and for me, definitely a disappointing game. I wanted to see the Bills win. Kansas City Chiefs are heading back to the Super Bowl. Last time we recorded, I said it was inevitable, and you can almost guarantee them a AFC Championship bid every year. We might as well just give them a Super Bowl bid every year, too, with the way this team's been playing in the postseason lately. Chiefs win 32-29. They get the opportunity to be the first team ever to three-peat in a Super Bowl. we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But diving into the game here, what were your thoughts on the Bills and Chiefs matchup?
I mean, Pat Mahomes is kind of a similar situation as Jalen Hurts, right? Like the team's just gotten it done no matter what. He hasn't thrown for more than one touchdown either playoff game this year so far. So he's kind of, been lucky with Kansas City's defense getting it done when they need to. And then also just some big plays. I know Xavier Worthy had a pretty nice catch, I think it was like a 30-yard catch in the game. And then the game before, Travis Kelce just took over. So I am intrigued on how much Patrick Mahomes can get away with against that Eagles defense in the Super Bowl, because he just really hasn't taken over much at all this season. And I think that makes for an interesting storyline. But this game in particular, I just feel bad for Josh Allen, dude. Like, this guy, he does his part every single year in this game and just can never get across the line and can never beat Patrick Mahomes here in the AFC Championship. So I just feel bad for him. It would have been fun to see the Bills in the Super Bowl. I really enjoyed Mac Hollins' attire at every game. Did you see any of this?
I saw the most recent one.
The week before, he wore like this whole like Hawaiian outfit. So, yeah, man, I feel bad for Josh Allen.
Yeah, me too. I thought that he would play a little bit more hero ball in this game and like kind of really will the Bills to victory. But by all things considered, he had a good game. They just couldn't get it done. That last play where they were on offense, where he dropped back and threw up a prayer to Dalton Kincaid, which ended up being a very catchable ball, was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Between that and not getting a first down when the Chiefs then took the ball and scored, if things go a little bit differently, one of those ways, you wonder what the end result would have been in this game. But you can't play hypotheticals, and only one team can win. But yeah, definitely feel for Josh Allen. Definitely feel for the Bills. It's like one of those things. I was thinking about it. I was like, it is so far from the truth, but like, you can sit here and you could probably say, like, is Josh Allen worth keeping? Because we're just running into Mahomes and we can't get past him. Like, what are, if we can't do it with Josh, what are we doing here? Obviously, they'd be crazy to move on from him. I think he is someone that will get his shot eventually. Just with the way things have unfolded lately, you just got to hope someone else does the dirty work for you and takes out the Chiefs, so then you can not have to worry about playing them in the AFC Championship game, or maybe try and get home field advantage next time. So then, hey, who knows what could happen when you're at home? I mean, granted, Arrowhead's a hostile environment, but Buffalo will be too if they get to host a conference championship game. So just a funny thought I had, and like, there are definitely reasons to believe, like, I guess you could do that, but still would be crazy nonetheless to move on from him.
It's more like if Josh Allen, I don't know what his contract situation's like, but if Josh Allen is going to be a free agent, like, I do everything in my power to sign with an NFC team, because it's like, then you don't have to meet Pat until the Super Bowl if they make it. So, and the Bills had a couple opportunities to win it. They could have stopped Kansas City late in the game, and then, that Kincaid drop was another opportunity for them to score there. So they had a couple opportunities there. I know a lot of Bills fans are blaming it on the refs, and like, there was a couple questionable calls, but I don't think it was anything that was like crazy blatant. It was just that fourth down run that a lot of Bills fans are pissed about. But it's like, you had two chances past that to try and win the game. So, man, we've got Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. I mean, how do you feel about this? Who are you pulling for?
I hate this matchup.
Yeah, dude, same.
I just don't have a ton of interest in it. I will root for the Eagles. I think there's a good chance the Chiefs win the game, though. But, I mean, if Barkley is able to do what he's done, that's going to play really well for the Eagles, just being able to control the clock and keep Mahomes off the field. Now, that's if Barkley's ripping off 75-yard touchdown runs every few times he touches it, they might have to stop him and be like, hey, man, go down a little bit. We gotta keep Mahomes off the field. We can't be scoring like this. all the time when they can take the ball down and score too. But I do think it'll be a good game. Spread's about 1.5 from what I've seen. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being, whoever. I wouldn't be surprised if like Philly's able to cover that, or maybe Kansas City squeaks by and they're able to cover that as the favorites right now. But I think it'll be a good game. I always respect greatness and what great players are able to do. I was very big on being like a Tom Brady supporter throughout his career, just because I thought it was super cool what he was doing, winning all those Super Bowls, and thought it was just unbelievable and rare that we were seeing a guy this good be able to win all these Super Bowls. And now I don't hate Patrick Mahomes and I don't hate the Chiefs, but as someone who doesn't have a dog in the fight, I wish there was a little break between Brady's career ending and now this run of Patrick Mahomes. It's just kind of like, feels like it's just been so one or two teams winning it every year, or one or two guys winning it every year for like the past 10 years, which isn't entirely true, but it just really feels like that. So that's kind of my only really gripe I have with Kansas City. But I mean, you can't hate them for what they're doing, and the fact that they're going to have the opportunity to be maybe one of the first teams ever to three-peat, like that's pretty cool too. And who knows if we'll see that again, just even having an opportunity for someone to three-peat.
Yeah, I'm pulling for the Chiefs because of that, right? Like, I don't know if we'll ever have this opportunity to see a three-peat ever again. Like, it's hard enough to win one Super Bowl, definitely hard enough to win two, and to win three is just like something unheard of. So I'm pulling for the Chiefs because of that. I mean, I wish it was at least one of the teams were different, so it's not the same exact Super Bowl as 2 years ago. Like, even if it was Chiefs versus Commanders, like I could have, gotten down with that. But I'm pulling for the Chiefs just because, I mean, I'm a sucker for history. Nobody's ever seen that. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. So to say you can witness that in your lifetime is kind of cool. So that's about as much interest as I have in it.
I think Travis Kelce might retire after this game too.
If they win, or in general?
I think in general.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's already been damn near tight end 2 if he's not, like, statistically, if he's not tight end 2, he's been damn near it. So I wouldn't be surprised. And Kansas City's got enough weapons, and I'm sure they'll draft somebody in this year's draft and be fine. So let's switch to some coaching moves here. We were really quick to just dog the Jaguars in last week's episode because of the way that they handled the Liam Coen situation. Well, it turns out that all they had to do was just get rid of Trent Baalke, and they would have landed their little nerd Liam Coen, who, by the way, had a really interesting press conference. Did you see the tweets from it?
Mm-hmm.
Duval.
You took my bit. I was going to bring that up.
Dude, just a fucking weirdo. I think it's an interesting move.
His face is on crooked.
Dude, he's just a weird dude. I saw some highlights of him talking to some of the players too, like Trevor Lawrence and some of their receivers he was talking to. But I mean, he's offensively he's great, but just a really fucking weird dude. I think he's either going to be like a phenomenal coaching hire, or he's going to be fired in like 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of interesting how all that happened. I mean, you still, like, sure, the Jags ended up getting their guy, but at the same time, too, like, who could they have gotten if they did this from the start, right? Like, Liam Coen was a pretty highly regarded candidate. I think maybe a couple other teams put in requests to interview him. I don't think the Bears did. Not that matters.
No, they didn't.
But, so obviously he was wanted by teams. But, I mean, I would always wonder, like, hey, like Jacksonville, for example, was interested in Ben Johnson. Like, had they been able to get rid of their GM, who knows what would have happened there. Maybe that he would have considered them a little bit more, and maybe that would have been a good opportunity that he thought he could take. But, still being able to get a guy that's highly regarded, good for them. I will probably tune into every single post-game interview for the Jaguars just to listen to him talk. Because I literally cannot stop watching that clip where he's like, Jacksonville, the community, Duval. That has been living in my head rent-free since it came out.
Dude, we need to reach out to him and get him to do our intro for our podcast.
Yeah, no kidding. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he works out. Offensively gifted. In terms of what he was able to do with Baker Mayfield and in Tampa Bay. And, yeah, it'll just be interesting to see if he can work that magic with Trevor Lawrence, who's already shown he can be a good NFL quarterback. But obviously he has fallen off a little bit since then. So,
yeah.
That hire's going to go as Trevor goes.
His coaching tenure is pretty interesting, too. Like,
he's been all over the place.
Dude, and like it's nonstop. Like literally, like you know how like they say like if you job hop, it makes your resume look like shit. Like people are like, this weirdo. We're only signing him to a 1-year contract. Dude, he hasn't stayed somewhere more than 2 years since 2018. So he was with the Rams in 2018 and 19 as the assistant wide receivers coach. Then he became the quarterbacks coach. Went to Kentucky for the OC and quarterbacks coach. Went back to the Rams, went back to Kentucky, went to the Buccaneers, and is now with the Jaguars. And that's like every single year he's changing where he is.
At least he doesn't have to move that far.
I guess so. But, yeah, just I guess props to the Jaguars for getting it right and getting rid of Balky so they could hire Liam Coen. But that dude's going to be so memeable for so long.
He already
Raiders hiring Pete Carroll. I really like this hire. I think this is a great move for them for where they're at right now and what they're trying to build. Did you see the Marshawn Lynch clip?
I did, yes.
Dude, I guess apparently Pete Carroll, when he answered, like when he responded back to that, he didn't know it was Marshawn.
I was gonna say I got the vibe that he didn't know who said that. He just kind of like awkwardly was like, huh, yeah.
Literally. So I don't know if the people listening saw it, but right in the middle of Pete Carroll's press conference with the Raiders, Marshawn Lynch was in the back of the room, and he just blurts out, Raiders! Pete Carroll was just like, yeah, that's the kind of energy we want. So what do you think of Pete Carroll with the Raiders?
Tough situation just because they don't have a quarterback like that. It's such a quarterback-driven league now, and a lot of success runs directly on how good your quarterback is or quarterback success. But Raiders are they've kind of been a dark cloud for a little bit here. He'll build a culture. They'll win some games they're not supposed to. And they'll be like a team that you can't just look over like teams probably have over the last couple of years. It's just going to take some work. Like they're going to really have to kind of revamp that roster a little bit. Definitely going to have to figure out what they can do at quarterback. But I think that from a culture standpoint and what the Raiders need right now, he'll be good. I see this maybe as letting Pete Carroll build the foundation for you for the next 2-3 years, however long he wants this job for. Because I feel like he's just going to retire after this, and I wouldn't be surprised. He got a 3-year contract. I wouldn't be surprised if it was at that. He's 73 years old. So kind of using Pete Carroll as a bridge to make your situation look a lot better for who you want to be the next head coach. So kind of like laying that foundation of success, getting that culture built. So if the next guy comes in and he doesn't have as much of a mess to clean up and he's got a little bit more to work with and things like that. So kind of see this as like a 2-part move, but for their immediate future, it should make them more respected. And they should, have a good locker room again.
Yeah, I think so. It's just kind of building it up from the ground up again because of the quarterback position. Now, what's kind of interesting is this. Russell Wilson is an unrestricted free agent. So is our old friend Justin Fields. I would not be shocked if the Raiders made a move for somebody like him.
Kirk Cousins, too.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Could be a really nice fit for the Raiders, especially if they draft somebody in this year's draft or next year's draft. Sam Darnold could be a really nice piece. I mean, he's going to get paid a ton of money, but you've got Vegas who's willing to just shovel out that kind of cash. I think this is a really nice hire for a guy like Max Crosby. I think him and Pete Carroll are going to hit it off really well because they're just complete and utter psychopaths, both of them. So I think he'll really enjoy playing for Pete Carroll. But dude, the unrestricted free agency class, I mean, with the exception of those names that I just named, is really not that impressive. Like some of the other guys that have gotten playing time lately, Jacoby Brissett, Drew Lock, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, maybe he's an option with Vegas. He'd have himself a great time in Vegas.
That would be epic.
So maybe Jameis goes to Vegas. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. They will have to make a lot of moves to be relevant again, but at least you've got your head coach.
I don't think we mentioned it, and not much to talk about other than this one thing I want to bring up. But they did hire a GM too, John Spytek. I don't know if we talked about that last time, who was with Tampa Bay as well. So obviously there's a Brady connection. But I don't know if you saw him at the press conference too. He needs to go to Turkey. He needs to get the hair transplant.
Oh no, is it bad?
Yeah, he's just got a nice long strip down here.
Oh, that's
needs to get
bad.
that taken care of, or he should be wearing hats all the time.
Well, he just got himself a raise, so he should be able to.
Yeah, they'll probably just bring it to his office.
I'm just looking at some free agent running backs. Do you think the Bears are going to address this? I guess we can talk about it on the Chicago side of things, but I'm just looking at the free agents running backs, and I know this year's draft is loaded too. But like you've got guys like Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, kind of an interesting name. J.K. Dobbins had a nice season, so there might be some interesting names here. Even for the Raiders, shit. I mean, they need some answers at running back too. So, Cowboys, they promoted Brian Schottenheimer to their head coach position and hired our boy Matt Eberflus as
Your
defensive
boy.
as defensive
Your best
coordinator.
friend.
Hey man, I honestly just think he's a solid defensive coordinator. I think he's a trash head coach.
Yeah,
but
he can call defense, but you put him and Liam Coen in the same room, that'd be some weird stuff thrown around.
yeah.
He's a weirdo too. I don't really have much to contribute on Schottenheimer. I just feel like it's a very Dallas hire where they're just kind of taking the easy route, going within. And granted, their situation was a little different because they were stupidly late to the game. That was their own fault. But I just feel like they really didn't have much of a search, and they were kind of locked in on him the whole time.
Yeah, it seems like Jerry Jones approached it kind of how like the Bears used to approach head coaching hires, where it's just like this will be good enough. Hopefully this will work out. Yeah, he was okay for us. We'll just promote him. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know, man. For a franchise like the Cowboys, that's a pretty ballsy move. But maybe they strike gold. Who really knows? I know the Schottenheimer name is obviously very well respected in football, but he's different than his dad. So now this team, talk about late to the party. Saints are no longer in the running for Mike McCarthy. Joe Brady pulled his name out of the running. Who do they even have left to hire, dude?
I think it's going to be Kellen Moore because I think they're going to look outside of the organization. But obviously Darren Rizzi, who is their interim coach, he's still around too.
Yeah.
Unless they got a surprise up their sleeve, I really don't see other routes that they're going to go with guys that they've already interviewed for this job. And one thing I think is interesting too is Rizzi is also a coveted special teams coordinator right now.
Yep.
And no one signed him yet. So obviously leads me to believe he's really holding out hope for that job, or he's right there in the thick of the mix. But I don't know. I mean, realistically, if I were the Saints, I would see if Rizzi would even be open to taking an interim gig again. And like, I would just want to wait this out until like next year. I wouldn't want to just to hire right now, but it seems like that's what they're going to have to do.
So one name I would ask about dollars, because it's actually a pretty decent name here, is Brian Flores.
Yeah,
I would ask him.
too.
I would ask him how much money he's looking for. Or obviously you talk to his agent. I mean, there's still Todd Monken, but he just agreed to stick with Baltimore, so he's not going anywhere.
Well, agreements don't mean shit. You learned
yeah,
that from the school of Coen.
I think that's his way of saying I don't have interest in the Saints job. There's Anthony Weaver. I think that they interviewed him too, but he just can't seem to land a head coaching gig. So Brian Flores could make a ton of sense for them. I just don't know what his dollar amount looks like and if they'd be willing to pay it. But like in terms of like pure desperation, still need a decent name for a head coach. That's probably your home run hire at this point.
Yeah, I forgot about him. People like Weaver too. I just don't really know much about him. I was just praying the Bears weren't going to hire him. You know what? I think the Saints should just call up Coach O and see, hey, Coach O, we'll give you a year. You want to take this? You had some success in Louisiana. Why not try to replicate it at the pro level?
He's too busy hanging out at Miami, bro, because his son is on the part of like the coaching staff or whatever. So he's always hanging out at Miami. He's like, I don't need to go anywhere.
He's been living the dream for a couple of years, just being unemployed.
Yeah, he did it right. He won a championship and said, all right, that's enough for me.
Yeah. And then got forced out.
Yeah. But still made bank in the process. Do you want to talk about the NBA All-Star starters?
Yeah, so NBA named their starters for the All-Star game. So from the East, we got Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, and Karl Anthony Towns. Not a whole lot of surprises there.
No.
Maybe wouldn't have put Jalen Brunson in the mix there, but obviously, it's not up to me. And then from the West, I think they got these mostly right with LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Steph Curry. I'd maybe argue that Curry could be excluded from that list, but NBA loves having their guys. Like you can even maybe argue LeBron shouldn't be a starter, but those guys always find their way into the lineup. So,
who would you replace Curry with if you didn't make him a starter?
I think I'd give the nod to Anthony Edwards. He's averaging 26.3 points per game, 8th highest scoring average in the NBA. The Timberwolves are struggling this year. Maybe that's part of the reason why he didn't get the nod there. But I would go with Anthony Edwards over Curry, I think. And then I know I brought up Jalen Brunson in the East. I'd put LaMelo Ball in. He's having an unbelievable year in Charlotte. He's averaging 28.2 points per game and 7.3 assists per game. 4th highest scorer in the NBA right now, which is nuts. I feel like nobody's talking about that.
He just screams All-Star game too, right? Like just checking up threes.
Would be you want to talk about like he would get viewers to watch. He would be having a blast.
Yeah.
Some of the plays and stuff that he would make would be awesome. He's a perfect fit to go just run out with a bunch of All-Stars and go play like Harlem Globetrotters ball.
Literally, shots from half court. So I'd make one change too. I'd actually also get rid of Steph Curry, and I would put a big man in there, Victor Wembanyama. Why this guy wasn't listed as a starter in the West is honestly mind-blowing to me, especially for how marketable this dude is. So I'd pull Steph. I'd move probably Shai to the 1. This is where it gets kind of convoluted. I think I'd have to play LeBron at the 2, Durant at the 3, Jokic at the 4, and Wembanyama at the 5, and just let him ball out. Because, dude, Victor Wembanyama is averaging 24 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocks a game. Like, the dude's averaging 4 blocks a game, which is nuts. So I'd throw him in there. I mean, he's been awesome for the NBA, and I think, seeing him out there with the starters would be cool.
Yeah, I know he's doing the Rising Stars Challenge, and I'm sure he'll be in the skills competition or something. So maybe the NBA's like, hey, let's not make him a starter too. Let's give him a little bit of a break. But
they should put him in the dunk contest and make the hoop twice as tall.
he would lose the dunk contest just because he physically couldn't be creative.
We'll talk about the dunk contest here shortly too. Did you have anything else you wanted to add for our NBA portion before we talk about Chicago stuff?
No, I think they're changing the format this year. I think we maybe talked about that before, so that'll be different. I think it's tournament style now.
Oh, they also talked about, there was a quote today
There's
where
like
Adam Silver talked about shortening the games too from 12 minutes per period to
like
or
regular
to quarter.
season games.
Yeah, 12 minutes per quarter to 10 minutes. So that might be kind of cool. I think it's also just because teams aren't playing defense, and so like some of these final scores are just like embarrassingly high for the NBA. So I think that's playing a factor. But yeah, I know that was talked about today.
Yeah, so I saw something too. Maybe I should just NBA Rising Stars. Rising Stars, I think, is going to be different. So it's going to feature first and second year players plus G League standouts, broken into 4 teams for a February 14th tournament that consists of 3 total games. So maybe this is the tournament I was thinking of. So here's our Rising Stars people. For rookies, we got Bub Carrington from the Wizards. Sounds like he's been in the league for 86 years. We got Stefan Castle, who's going to be busy this All-Star weekend. We got Tristan Da Silva from the Magic, Zach Edey from the Grizzlies,
Yeah.
Dalton Knecht from the Lakers, Jared McCain from the Sixers, who I believe is injured and won't be playing, Yves Missy from the Pelicans,
Yeah.
Zachary Rissachier from the Hawks.
Risa Shea, bro.
Rissachier. He got the Versace. Alex Sarr from the Wizards. Jalen Wells from the Grizzlies. Shame on them for not including Matis Buzelis, but also shame on the Bulls for not giving him enough minutes.
Yeah.
Sophomores, we got Bilal Coulibaly from the Wizards. We got
Koulibaly for those that are listening.
We got Grady Dick from the Raptors. We got Keontae George from the Jazz. Scoot Henderson from the Blazers. Trace Jackson Davis from the Warriors. Jaime Jaquez Jr. from the
That a
Heat.
boy.
Derek Lively II from the Mavericks. Brandon Miller from the Hornets.
He'll be replaced.
Eamon Thompson from the Rockets. Carson Wallace from the Thunder. And Victor Wembanyama from the Spurs. Now, from the G League, we got J.D. Davison. We got Mac McClung. We got Bryce McGowens. Leonard Miller. This is my favorite guy right here. Dink Pate. Reed Shepard and Pat Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, there's some...
And there's a Bulls edition to that too, right? Or is that not the same thing?
Oh, because you're talking about... let me see if there's anything here. Let me see. I'll pull up the tweet. Adama Sanogo is heading to All-Star Weekend. He's been voted to play in the NBA G League Up Next game presented by AT&T.
No. Okay.
Yeah, so, but, you know, Adama Sanogo should be playing in this game because he's a G. I mean, there's some really interesting names on our team, not even the G League.
No, I'm talking the All-Star team, the real one.
I like Stefan Castle in here. Zach Edey, I mean, it's fine. Dalton Knecht, I think, will be fun. Jared McCain, he'll be replaced because he's hurt. Zachary Risa Shea, Alex Sarr. I mean, there's some interesting name. Keontae George, man, I'll tell you what, he's been pretty nice for the Jazz. I think he could put on a show.
I don't know if it's going to be like sophomores only playing with sophomores plus a couple G League guys, or if sophomores and rookies will get mixed up. But if it is typically just like sophomores versus rookies, I do think the sophomores are going to like just destroy the rookies.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
whoever gets Wemby on their team, that he alone could probably beat every team.
And Dink.
If I was going to say, if they get Wemby and Dink paid, I might get the whole squad's jerseys.
Yeah. I mean, I'll watch it, right? Like, I feel like NBA All-Star Weekend has kind of taken a dive lately, but
we
we'll
need
see.
Dink and Dick on the same team. That would be epic.
That'd make for interesting TV.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to call it. I can't even read his name.
Let's dive into, since we're already like headed that direction. We're gonna transition to Chicago topics. We're gonna start with some Bulls talk because Matis Buzelis was asked to participate in the NBA Slam Dunk contest and accepted, obviously. So he's gonna be one of the contestants in the Slam Dunk contest. Me and Sean every year actually decide on dunk contest winners. So I think, Sean, we should do that right now. Do you have a quarter by you?
I mean, I can probably just do flip a coin on Google.
There you go.
Damn, They got it. All right. So I'll let you call it heads or tails.
Tails.
Okay. It is heads.
No, it's not.
It was. I promise.
Damn it.
Gentlemen's
Right.
game. All right. So we usually do this for 3-point contest too. I don't know if that field's been released yet. We'll talk about that next week probably.
I'm gonna try and pull it up if I can.
Okay. So what we do is we just rotate picking players who we think's gonna win, and we do that for dunk contest, 3-point shootout, skills competition. So I have the first pick. I'm going to take Matis Buzelis.
You asshole. I'm trying to find who else is in it. Where do you have it?
So for the dunk contest?
Yeah, I know it's Mac McClung and then
Stephon Castle and Andre Jackson Jr.
I guess I'll take Mac McClung.
I'll take Stephon Castle.
All right, I got Andre Jackson and Mac McClung. And then let me see if the 3-point contest.
What a disgrace the dunk contest has become. No one does it anymore. It hasn't been good in I don't think it's been good since Levine and the Timberwolves days.
Could you imagine what it would look like if they didn't have Mac McClung? It's still not great, but Jesus Christ, if they didn't have Mac McClung, who actually gave a shit.
It's like all rookies that are doing it now. It's nuts. I will say Buzelis could put on a show. If he will, we'll see about that. But he's super freaky, super athletic for people that haven't been able to watch him. Which, truthfully, I'm guessing that's a lot of people. Will be probably pretty surprised at just how athletic and good he looks in the dunk contest. I think, but we'll see if he shines when the spotlight's a little bit brighter on him.
They haven't announced any 3-point contests. Apparently, they asked Caitlin Clark to participate.
She ain't doing it.
And she said no. Good for her.
Yeah, because she wants to do it in Indianapolis. They're hosting it for the WNBA this season, so she wants to do her debut there.
Good for her. I mean,
yeah,
she does have that right to say yes or no, and I mean she's hands down one of the most popular names in WNBA, if not the most popular name in the WNBA. So
she is definitely the most popular name in the WNBA.
I know there's a lot been going on with the Blackhawks lately. Do you want to take the floor and dive into some Blackhawks stuff?
I figured tonight I'll let you do that.
So the Blackhawks have been losing games, and that's about all I got for you. They actually won last night, though. I did see that against, I think it was the Lightning.
Yeah, no. So there's been some fun things happening in the Blackhawks world, actually. They first order of business, they signed AJ Spelliscy to an entry level contract. It's 3 years, $975,000. AJ Spelliscy, let me find you really quick. Here you are. He was taken in the 3rd round of this past draft. He is a forward. He's 6'3", 204 pounds, so we love that.
Why did it take this long just to sign him?
So the NHL just works different. Now, after a team drafts a player, they have their rights. They have the ability to sign them for a certain amount of time. And so this is kind of confusing with Spellacy because he's signing an entry-level contract, so technically he could go pro. But due to him turning 19 in February, he won't be able to play with Rockford until after next season because of their age restrictions. So, yes, they're signing him to an entry-level contract, but this move kind of more is like, hey, we believe in you. We want you to be part of this future. We're going to reward you with a bigger deal here for the next few years, and then he'll be able to make his way to Rockford after next year and hopefully up to Chicago not long after that. So kind of a little different, interesting move. But yeah, so they're just kind of putting their faith into him and, letting him know like, hey, we think highly of you and we want you to be a part of this. So boom, here's an entry level deal.
I didn't realize Artem Lovchinov was already 19 because I'm like, wait, didn't he go to Rockford? But yeah, I guess he's already 19.
Yep. So also Blackhawks made headlines with the NHL trade deadline coming up. They sent Taylor Hall to the Carolina Hurricanes as part of a 3-team trade where they also acquired the contract of Mikko Rantanen for the rest of the season, and the Blackhawks received a 3rd-round pick, which was their own 3rd-round pick they used to have. So retained some salary and basically got Taylor Hall for a 3rd-round pick is the way that I view it. They were able to move up a little bit in the 3rd round. So let's see if I can find out exactly what picks they have.
Why does it kind of feel like they got fleeced here?
I don't think they did. No.
Is it a deep draft?
I don't really know much outside of like the top 3 because there's really not much else I have to pay attention to for now. Let's see. I can't see the 3rd round, just the 2nd round. Anyways, Blackhawks moved up a little bit in the 3rd round, so always a good thing. Kyle Davidson loves picks, so he was able to get one of his back. Really just kind of look at it as getting a 3rd round pick for Taylor Hall, and I know some people will be like, "Oh, that wasn't. There's no way the Blackhawks could have just traded Taylor Hall for a 3rd round pick straight up and didn't have to retain salary." I don't think they could have, and if anything, it's just salary for this season. So who gives a shit? To be honest with you, it's not going to matter. Mikko Rantanen will be a free agent next year. He is someone I would love the Hawks to take a look at. I don't know if he'd be willing to come here, given the state of the franchise. But, I mean, if you go down, kick the can, down the road here and talk with him in free agency, and you're like, maybe he remembers this. And he's like, you know what, they helped me get to another contending team. I respect that. Maybe I'll listen to their pitch. And then maybe he likes what we have to sell. I don't think that's going to happen, but I guess it doesn't hurt to be in his good graces to be able to facilitate that trade. So,
were you trying to figure out how many total picks we have in the draft this year?
No, I was just going to see what 3rd round picks they have.
Just one.
Okay.
So they have 2 firsts, 2 second, a 3rd, 2 4ths, a 6th, and a 7th.
Okay. Where's that? Do you know what pick that 3rd is?
I don't think that's been figured out yet because the season hasn't been finished. But it does say it was the one that was traded to Carolina last year, and then we reacquired it. So it's our own.
Yeah. Let's see. Yep. So they get it back. It'll be a high 3rd round pick. Basically another 2nd round pick. You can pencil that in as. So theoretically, they almost got a 2nd round pick. And I don't think if they just straight up traded Taylor Hall to a team, they would have gotten that. So I think everyone that's harping on the Hawks for being stupid here, I just don't understand that, but to each their own. So NHL trade deadline, I believe, is February 6th. Let's see here. What day is NHL trade deadline? Oh, no, it's not. What's
March
February
7th.
6th? That's the NBA trade deadline is February 6th.
Yeah, so there's still a while.
Yeah, so still got some time. Blackhawks probably will, I would guess, make a couple other moves. I think they'll be minor. Seth Jones has been dangled in some trade rumors. I don't know if they'll actually pull the trigger on that. I don't know. He's got a big contract. Not many teams are going to be able to take that on. And the Blackhawks only have the ability to retain one more salary from a trade. So I don't know if they'd be wanting to do that with Seth Jones at that rate. Maybe they should just keep him or see if some team down the road can just take on that contract. So he could be traded. I'd be a little surprised if he is, but not surprised at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe they'll make a couple small moves. I don't think it'll be anything crazy. But
hey
yeah.
man, Saad has had his contract terminated by the Blues. I'm sure he'll probably be a Blackhawk within the next couple of days.
Well, he already went through waivers, so they already turned him down once.
Wow, that's a first.
Every team did.
Let's dive really quick before we finish hockey talk. Utah Hockey Club has their finale. Well, not finale. Their final 3 team names that they're letting fans choose between. Have you heard about them?
Yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah. So one is Utah Hockey Club. Cool. Another is Wasatch, which apparently is a mountain range out there. And then I actually like this one, Mammoth, the Utah Mammoth.
Yeah, that's what I would go for.
That would actually be pretty sick. So
they did want to do Yeti, but they couldn't do it for copyright or something.
Yeah, I think because of the cup company, and cooler company.
I submitted a name to them. It didn't make it.
What was that name?
It was Bison.
Oh,
I thought they could get creative.
So they even have bison.
Yeah, I looked it up. What, you think I'm just going to throw some shit at the wall?
I just think you're a huge North Dakota fan, so you think every team should be named the Bison.
No, they got them out there. I think I submitted Blizzard or something too.
Yeah,
I did a couple because they were doing a giveaway. Like it was if it ends up being the name, you get free season tickets forever. And I was like, I won't take them, but I'll sell them.
That's funny. Yeah. Did you have any other Blackhawks stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So Blackhawks doing the right thing here. Team is playing a little bit better. Beat the Lightning last night, but they are giving their young guys opportunities. So recently called up a defenseman, Ethan Del Mastro, and they also called up forward Landon Slaggert. Slaggert made his season debut last night and scored a goal against the Lightning. Played a really good overall game, was making some nice plays defensively. So Hawks are playing a little bit better. They're still obviously going to be a bottom 3 team, but they are at least entertaining to watch now with all these young guys.
Would you put them in the feisty category?
I wouldn't go that far, but fun.
Okay.
That's a step below feisty.
Okay. All right. I guess it's
fun,
better.
Fun and finding ways to lose. But yeah, so been enjoying watching some of the young guys come up. It's fun watching them produce. Frank Nazar, he's been playing really, really well lately. He finally got his first goal this season and then was able to string together a couple goals after that. So it looks like kind of monkey off his back, and he's starting to play better and better. He's got a nice, well-rounded game lately too. And then I don't know if you saw it, but Connor Bedard scored a goal last night against the Lightning.
Sick.
One of the most crazy, I want to live in his brain
Angle
kind of goals. It took a very weird, very, very, very hard angle that I don't think there are many people in the NHL that would think shoot at that point, and he fit it into about a 3-inch window, which was pretty cool. He's still been playing really good. So for as bad as they are, they got a lot of fun things happening right now. So it's about all you can ask for. And I don't think Sorensen's going to get looked at seriously as the head coach down the line. But hey, maybe some coaching candidates out there are looking at this team and being like, okay, I like what they have. There's something here, and maybe they're able to reel in a good coach or something like that down the line. So I almost forget this team still needs to hire a coach too. Everyone in Chicago does. It's it's getting exhausting. But
It's tradition, baby.
but yeah, so fun stuff going on here. I did just get a notification as well to bring up to an earlier point in this podcast that Kellen Moore is currently the favorite to land in New Orleans. So might be where they go.
Interesting. And the Blackhawks still have a lot of the season left too. Their last game of the season is April 15th, so they've got a long way to go here.
We're going to be taking a break coming up. We'll have the Four Nations face-off in the middle of February. Once we get a little bit closer, maybe next week, kind of dive into that a little bit. That is the replacement for the NHL's All-Star Game. Really intriguing thing that they're doing. I think it'll be fun to watch. But yeah, we'll kind of dive into that maybe next week or in another episode a little bit closer to when they start that.
It looks like so they have a break from February 8th to February 22nd. So next week's podcast would actually probably make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Cool. I think that's it for Blackhawks stuff. We can dive into the Bears moves that they've been making and Ben Johnson starting to give us an idea of what his staff is going to look like. I can dive into it since you just did a lot of the talking with the Blackhawks, but Ben Johnson was looking for an OC that was going to be, I guess you could say, a little bit more hands-off because of the play calling. Ben Johnson still wants to call the plays, but he wanted an OC that is kind of young and up and coming, I guess you could say. Declan Doyle is the guy that he landed on. He was just hired as the offensive coordinator. He seems very highly respected from the Denver media based on what I was reading on Twitter. It seems like this could be a name where people start to talk about him as a head coach or starting to get interviews in the next 2 to 3 years. So it seems like it's a good hire for Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator. It would have been really hard for him to just nail a massive name because, again, Ben Johnson wants to call the plays, and not a lot of offensive coordinators are going to give that up. So Declan Doyle, offensive coordinator. This name
years old.
Yep. Related
to Mike Ditka.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you a damn thing about what he's ever done at his positions that he's had, but for Sean Payton to have him in New Orleans, bring him to Denver, I think that says something about him. But really, that's all I got. I mean, people will probably look at him and be like, he was Denver's tight end coach. Oh my gosh, what did Denver even do with tight ends last year? Well, he didn't really have much to work with, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was an offensive assistant from the Saints for 3 years, tight end coach in Denver for 2, and then was just hired as offensive coordinator for the Bears. So, honestly, it's great. It seems like there's positive feedback, but it doesn't matter a ton because Ben Johnson's calling the plays. The hire that was really important for Ben Johnson was the defensive coordinator job, and they landed on Dennis Allen. I personally think this is a home run hire. I think Dennis Allen is a great defensive coordinator. He's not a good head coach. He's had, I think, 2 opportunities now to be a head coach and never seemed to figure it out. But the reason why I like this is because he's proven that he can be a very effective defensive coordinator. And now, with the idea of him not really being, teams not really being interested in hiring him as a head coach, I think it gives the Bears a lot of stability at that position. I'm really excited about the Dennis Allen hire. Sean, do you feel the same, or is it kind of just like it's cool?
I think it's a good hire. I think it's needed Bears always figure out defense. I think that whoever they would have brought in probably would have worked out. They got talent there. They got money to spend. Like, they'll probably be able to have success. But I think the most important thing of this hire for me is that Ben Johnson was able to secure someone who has head coaching experience. I think that's big for him coming in as a first-time head coach, being able to lean on a guy in certain situations where he's maybe not sure what to do or how to navigate some things. because as much as you'd love to have all the answers, it just doesn't happen. So I think that's really important. I'm glad he was able to secure someone on his staff that has head coaching experience, and Dennis Allen has a decent amount of head coaching experience. So I think that's to me, that's the most important part of this hire.
Yeah. And I mean, he's been a DC for a while before coming here and deciding to be the DC here too. So that's another huge aspect of this hire for them. And then just today, I mean, literally like an hour ago, it's now Wednesday at 7:30 Central. Press Taylor was announced as the passing game coordinator. I had his Wikipedia pulled up. I think I closed it out. So Press Taylor, kind of interesting. He's been around. He's been in the NFL since 2013, so he's got about 11 years of experience. He first started as an offensive quality control coach for the Eagles. He was with the Eagles all the way up until 2020. His last position there was a QB coach and passing game coordinator. Went to the Colts for a year, and then he was hired as the Jaguars offensive coordinator from 2022 up until now. And he's going to be the passing game coordinator for the Bears. So for a guy that has offensive coordinator experience, he's got experience working with a franchise that's seen a ton of success over the years. I've heard the Jaguars aren't exactly upset that he left and he's gone, but at the same time, like for the Bears, he's a passing game coordinator. We don't really need to invest too much time into a hire like this. It seems like he's got experience, so it's fine.
Hold that thought, because our passing game coordinator last year turned into our interim head coach. So
I hope to God that doesn't happen again this year, or else we might just have to cancel this podcast.
If that happens this year, I will stop being a Bears fan. 100%. I will stop being a Bears fan.
Yeah, I don't see it, but you never know. So. Yeah, I mean, it's a passing game coordinator hire, so it's fine. Like it's nothing.
Speaking of passing game coordinator, Thomas Brown did get hired by the Patriots, so
yeah, great hire.
I think he's same role, passing game coordinator.
I think so.
So he landed on his feet. No surprise. Glad he got another opportunity. I was hoping that first of all was hoping that the Bears weren't going to hire him or keep him around, but. I was also hoping that he would get a shot somewhere else. So good for him.
Yep, tight ends coach and passing game coordinator for the Patriots. So nice place for him to land. And then finally, Richard Hightower. He was already with the Bears as the special teams coordinator, and was actually retained. He might have been the only.
I think he was the only
retained.
Yep.
Yeah. Which I'm fine with it. I know Darren
That's the way
Rizzi
it should be.
Yeah, I know Darren Rizzi was talked about as a name that could be hired, but it seems like there's some interest with him either being a head coach in New Orleans, which maybe not anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, up to this point, he's still been in the mix for it. So
exactly.
At some point, is it really worth letting go of someone who's done a fine job, like just so you could wait to maybe miss out on another guy? No, I don't think so. I'll tell you what, Ben Johnson probably saw that last game against the Packers where he pulled off that trickery play, and he was probably just like, I love this guy. He's staying.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we don't continue to get our field goals blocked, like that was insane this past season. Yeah. How many field goals got blocked compared to like what you typically see in a season. So
I think most of that's on the kicker too, though.
Yeah, do you think they'll bring him back? This is actually a conversation I wanted to have that we never dug into.
No, I don't. I think he's a great kicker. He's done really well in Chicago, but we're at a point where you got to be able to consistently try from 50 plus yards, and he just doesn't have the leg to do that consistently. So I think the Bears will be looking for a new kicker and one that has the opportunity to kick from 50, 55 plus. It's just becoming very common for kickers to do that right now, and I think the Bears are only doing themselves a disservice if they don't give themselves the opportunity to have someone who can try those long field goals.
Dude, I'm just saying Miami's kicker is in the draft this year, and
They're not drafting one. They'll sign one.
he's pretty damn good. See, I don't know though, dude. I'm looking at the free agents right now. I'll give you some names that'll ring a bell. Nick Folk, he's a free agent. Matt Prater, been kind of hit or miss. Your boy Eddie Pinero, Florida Gator. Michael Badgley, he was good, and then he just kind of got the spooks and tailed off. Brennan McManus, Greg Joseph, Zane Gonzalez, Austin Seibert, Cade York, and Spencer Schrader, which I don't even know who he is. So, free agent kickers aren't.
Ooh, Prater was in Detroit at one point. I wonder if he was there when Ben Johnson was there.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, and Joey Sly, he's only 28 years old. He could be a name that they could consider.
He was pretty bad this year. I think
Yeah.
Washington cut ties with him very early.
Yeah. Yeah, the free agents really aren't that impressive, man. So, I don't know. Unless it's an undrafted free agent, deal, and they just kind of get some guy out of a small school who's got a boot. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's like it's one of those things where you just hope our offense is good enough to where a kicker conversation isn't something that we have to worry about on a weekly basis.
Yeah, right.
And I'm sure they'll figure it out. So, anything you want to add to the Bears before we wrap up the episode?
Nope. I'm all good.
Cool. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us another week. Anything you guys want to hear us talk about, maybe argue over, then shoot us a message. Slide into our DMs. Let us know what you want to hear, and we'll make sure to add it to next week's episode. Until then, y'all take care. Stay warm. I know it's cold in a lot of places, and we'll see you guys next week.